Welcome to the OC bitches. Sorry, Rach. Rachel is, she's remote today. She couldn't join us in the studio, but I love your head anyway that I get to see.
I give good head. What can I say? Season 2, episode 12, The Lonely Hearts Club.
Yes, The Lonely Hearts Club. This is kind of an emotional yell at your screen kind of episode, I feel like. But we have a really cool guest for this ep. So Cory Martin, she started as Stephanie Savage's assistant right out of college, and she became a writer on the OC, penning 2 episodes, and then wrote and oversaw a number of novelizations for the OC. She's also a successful ghostwriter and author of books, TV, film, and essays. She's a passionate yogi. Yogi. Is that right?
Yes.
I'm always like, an advocate for people living with MS. Her new book came out on January 11th, The Yoga Prescription, A Chronic Illness Survival Guide. She has some very cool memories, behind the scene memories to share with us today. Please welcome Cory Martin. Hi.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Hi.
This is so exciting.
So exciting to have you.
Yeah. It's so cool to have you here. And we love getting people that were really behind the scenes because we weren't there. So we love hearing your experiences. And the fact that you were working with Stephanie when you first started, you must have seen it all.
Yes. I mean, I remember the day Josh first came into the office to pitch the show to Stephanie and McG.
So go back then. So we don't know this. How did you meet Stephanie?
So I was about to graduate from USC, from college, and there used to be this thing called the UTA job list, which was sort of the secret list of jobs that got emailed out, and I got it through a friend of a friend.
It's still today, I think.
Is it really?
I think so.
That's kind of cool. I'm sure it's like online and not just like a secret email. And I saw this ad that they were actually looking for interns at Wonderland, where Stephanie and McG's production company, and I reached out and I sent my resume and they're like, okay, do you want to intern? I was like, I'm about to graduate college. And if I don't get a real job, I have to move back home to Indiana. So no, but please keep me in mind if anything opens up. And 3 weeks later, they called me and they're like, we happen to have this assistant opening. Do you want to come in? And that was my first job out of college. And I started working and it was I got really lucky that it was this new production company that a lot was happening. So it was straight into Charlie's Angels 2 and then Fastlane, McG's TV show. And then, that opened doors and all these people started coming in to pitch new TV ideas. And Josh was one of them. And I don't remember actually being in that first pitch, but I remember him being in the office all the time and him and Stephanie working. I was at Warner Brothers for one of the pitches they did with Peter Roth and some of the other people.
You get to be in the room for those?
Some of them, yeah.
Oh,
I was
cool.
there, I always felt like a fly on the wall. I was 22 years old and you're kind of meant to just observe and learn and sit back and just, absorb everything, right. Which I did. And it was so cool. And Stephanie and Josh were so open and inviting. And I don't think a lot of producers are that open and sort of helpful. So I was very lucky in that sense.
What was your first impression of Josh Schwartz? Do you remember?
Your bestie.
It's funny. I was thinking about that on the way here. And because I went to USC too, there was sort of this rumor about this guy who sold his scripts before he graduated college. And so I knew of Josh in that sense. But met him, I was like, oh, he's a cool, laid back guy. Because, when you're in school and somebody does something big, you're like, ooh, this guy's going to be so fancy and have everything. And he sold his script for, tons of money. And what do I know about that yet? So
very cool.
Then how do you remember? So the first memories of production, you told me that you remember working for the pilot presentation, right?
Yes.
What was that all about? And what is a pilot presentation?
So if I remember correctly, and maybe Stephanie and Josh have talked about this, I don't remember their episodes, but I don't think they were actually supposed to shoot the full pilot of the OC. Or they somehow worked that out. Anyways, they were shooting that, but also because there was starting to become this buzz and people had seen the dailies and you guys were so good, I think they knew that something big was going to happen. And so you also had to give this presentation, or Josh and Stephanie did, that sort of laid out the future episodes, what a season would look like, where are these characters going? And back then it was very, like, it wasn't like a cool PowerPoint or like worked on Canva and Photoshop and made some Word document. It was like you took these pages, I had pictures of you guys, and it would be like your character descriptions. I literally had to take the picture, put it on the piece of paper, take it to Kinko's, make copies, like color copies.
Nothing digital.
Nothing was digital.
Days, yeah.
And so they laid out, Josh and Stephanie had written this whole like kind of Bible or presentation, and then they needed like 10 copies for all the studio execs. And so I was up until, no, I never went to bed. I think at 5:30 a.m. they came back to the office and said, Cory, go home. We're going to call somebody else to come help us, but thank you. And then that was like the last day of shooting the pilot. And so I like didn't want to miss it because I was like, I'd been there through everything. And Stephanie's like, no, go to sleep. Go to sleep. And so I slept for like 4 or 5 hours. And then I showed back up for the last day of shooting out in Zuma Beach, I think it was.
What was the last day of shooting? Was it possibly the party?
I think so.
Yeah.
Because I remember it went late into the night. And then I drove home. I was living in Santa Monica at the time. And Stephanie was like, are you sure you're not going to fall asleep on the PCH? And I was like, yes, I'll be okay.
I feel like it was maybe that as well because my first day was like the party, I think. Or one of my first days was the party out there.
Wait, which party are you talking about? The high school party or the
after the fashion show party?
Oh, okay.
Where the big, with all the noopsies coming on to Ryan and asking him about being a cousin from Boston.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Got it. Yeah. Zuma Beach was definitely both of those. Or Malibu anyway.
Yeah, you're right. There was like the mansion up on the hill was the party you're talking about.
Right.
And then the one down on the beach.
Right.
Was a different
Yeah.
one. Cool.
Where Misha taught me about hazelnut lattes from Starbucks.
Nice.
At 16 years old.
I probably helped you guys get those. I was probably the one running to Starbucks. No.
Right. And then
That's so funny.
as you went on with the show, how do you become a writer for listeners out there who might be interested in that? Do you let Stephanie know? I mean, how does it work in this business? Because it's always kind of a mystery to us how that happens.
I mean, for me, I went to school for writing. So I majored in creative writing. And so obviously when I got hired, I said, I want to be a writer. My whole life plan was to like make money in TV and film and then go write books, which was like such a hard way to do it. And also it's all hard. But since I had made that known, first you have to prove yourself, right? So it is getting coffees and staying up till 5 a.m. and making copies and doing sort of those kind of tasks. But then also like I would do those. And Stephanie was really great at being sort of a teacher and teaching me like how to break down a script, how to read a script, how to give notes, how to create a shape of a story. And I was kind of just observing and absorbing everything. And then she would slowly give me things to like take over from her. So, if like in Charlie's Angels, if they wanted something to kind of mimic a different movie, I would watch that movie and break down the beats and like, why does that character do that? And what is that establishing and sort of learning how a story works. And so then I started to kind of prove myself. And then Josh, when he got approached by Warner Brothers and Scholastic about these books, said, hey, I know that you've been helping Cory. Maybe she would be good for this and we should give this to her. And so they both came to me and offered me the book. And that was like the first big like writing thing I got to do, which was really cool.
To be clear, you wrote novelizations, which novelizations are extensions based on the characters and extension books of the series that were never seen. The storylines were never seen on the show.
Yes, exactly. And they were meant for like a young adult audience. So like 12 years old. So a little bit younger than the high school people. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
These ones.
These ones right here.
They're holding them up now.
Yeah, there's The Outsider, The Way Back, and The Summer of Summer. So,
which we only kind of, for some reason, I remember hearing about these. And then Rachel, just a few months ago, you sent me a text with a picture. You're like, what is this? And right after that, you contacted me on Instagram. And I was like, this is so fun. Well, anyway, we're so happy that you're here.
Yes.
So The Outsider, The Way Back, and The Summer of Summer. Now, can you take us through a little bit? So is The Outsider like a backstory on Ryan, or like what happens in that, and like a little synopsis of each?
Sure, of course. The Outsider was the first one I did, and that was actually based on the first 6 episodes. So, that like chunk of summer. That they shot first.
Summertime, not summer.
Yes, not summer. So it was those episodes. So I took the scripts and then I kind of gave all the characters' backstory and like what were they thinking about like during those parties or during the kisses or what all that kind of stuff. Granted, it's for a young audience, so you couldn't really go like crazy with it. And then the way back was what happened after season 1 during that summer before season 2. So like Summer meets Zach and Marissa sees the yard boy, DJ, and, Seth's up in Portland. How did he get there? What is he doing up there? And so I filled in what those guys were doing all that summer, like Teresa and Ryan and Chino. What is that like?
Oh my gosh, I
want to see that show.
I know. I think filling in the blanks, because that's what we do here. We comment on why this character would do this and what's happening off screen, because we know like there's so many things that are happening off screen, and that's what that's the medium of television that we have to somehow fill in the blanks, and that's what you did essentially.
Yeah, and it was fun because I kind of had like carte blanche to have fun with it. I mean, Josh and Stephanie obviously trusted me and they read some outlines. And once they saw the outline, they're like, okay, you obviously get the show. Like you've been around it. So you know that the characters aren't going to do something like weird. And that's not part of who they are. And so I just kind of started writing. And because I was also in the writer's room at the time, when I wrote the second one, sort of that, in between season 1 and season 2, I kind of knew where things were going. So even though the writer's room wasn't really talking about what that was, I could kind of fill in that blank of like, okay, Teresa and Ryan, like they're young and they're living together in an apartment. And like, what are they doing? She's pregnant. Like,
Then you were offered an episode that's coming up, season 2, episode 18, that just want to make it clear that that's Norman Buckley's directorial debut. And he's going to be back for that episode. So
that's great. Norman's amazing.
So we asked you to come in for this one just because you have so many other stories too. So, but you also wrote the game plan that Tate Donovan directed. That's coming up in season 3. And given that chance, how was that? Just like the chance of a lifetime? What was that? What was the pressure like?
Huge pressure. Yes, definitely chance of a lifetime. Like I remember Josh and Stephanie came to me, I think towards the end of season 1 after I'd kind of started the books, and they saw that I could do it. And they were like, okay, here's our plan for you next. And I was like, what? And I was going to go be the writer's assistant for season 2 and sort of learn what the room is like. And then towards the end of the season, write that episode. And I was like, what? Like people dream of this, like this is, I came from Indiana. Like you don't just show up and like these things happen in your early 20s. Like I was only 23, 24 years old. So it wasn't like I had been around the block for a long time either. So I'm still super grateful to Josh and Stephanie for giving me that. And, and then I go off to write the episode. I'm like, oh no, I'm staring at the blank page going, can I do this? Like, do I know what I'm doing? Like, am I going to mess this up totally and they'll never keep me around? Like, I don't know. So yeah, it was really nerve-wracking.
Did you have to sit and observe, or were you observe like there's a lot of pitching, right? And ideas thrown out. Were you just an observationist, or were you contributing at that point?
At that point, as the writer's assistant, you're sort of supposed to just observe. Every once in a while, you can throw a few ideas, but everyone else is there as a writer, like getting paid to pitch. And if you're cutting in on their time, you're kind of like taking over someone's job too. So there's like that dynamic where it's like you gotta have to prove that you can do it, but then also be enough to like know where your place is, sort of.
Right.
But you learn so much being in that room too.
So what happened after the OC? Where did you go? What did you do?
After the OC, I took a year off actually. And
you were supposed to do a spinoff.
Yeah,
right?
So I was supposed to do a spinoff. So there was going to be a spinoff of Caitlin in boarding school, which I found that script the other day.
Did you?
On my computer. And I was like, wow, it was cool. It was going to be a really fun show. But it also has very like Gossip Girl attitudes towards it. So I was like, well, it made sense that Gossip Girl came around and that was a bigger property.
But you didn't you say that it was a spinoff with Caitlin at boarding school called Pretty Things?
I think it was going to be called Pretty Things, or that was the original working
like
title.
That. And it wasn't fully crewed up, or was it that?
That one wasn't. So that was like So my deal was for season 3, I would write one episode for that. I wasn't an assistant. I would be in the room and then I'd write my episode. And then I was going to have an episode on Pretty Things. Well, that sort of started moving. Like that was going to happen like midway through 3rd season. And then, I don't know, the network decided no, or somebody decided no. And so then I was like left out of writing that episode. And then the OC was already staffed and like moving forward without me.
Oh, I see.
And so I was kind of like,
that's what you meant. Yeah.
Okay, I guess I'll figure out my next move.
Mm-hmm.
So then I was kind of like working with my agent. Like I had an agent at that point and I was writing scripts and they were like sending me out. And so I was kind of just taking my time to do that. Like I didn't go get another job. I just kind of worked on writing. And then the writer's strike happened in 2007.
Oh.
So I kind of went, all right, I don't know what to do. And I started working for the Wibberleys, who are a husband and wife writing team that did like Charlie's Angels, National Treasure, Bad Boys, and just was doing like their research and sort of helping them with scripts. It was kind of my like side job until I could get a next writing job.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Now see all the things you're talking about, like the books you wrote and the spin-off series. These are all things that I want to see. So maybe you need to resurrect something. Today's program is brought to you by Athletic Greens, the health and wellness company that makes comprehensive daily nutrition really, really simple.
I take AG1 because it's important to get the right nutrients. I try to be very conscious to eat the right foods, and AG1 just adds to that. So, you know what? I've also recommended it to, of course, my husband and my daughter and everyone in my family. And you guys too.
AG1 by Athletic Greens, the category-leading superfood product, brings comprehensive and convenient daily nutrition to everybody. Keeping up with the research, knowing what to do, and taking a bunch of pills is hard on the stomach and hard to keep up with.
To help each of us be at our best, they simplify the path to better nutrition by giving you the one thing with all the best things. That's AG1. One scoop has it all: 75 vitamins, minerals, and whole food sourced ingredients, including a multivitamin, multi-mineral, probiotic, greens, superfood blend, and more.
This is the only way I actually get really good stuff into my system because it's easy, it's one scoop, and it has everything in it. I am the worst at taking pills. I gag every time.
To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you an immune-supporting free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase if you visit athleticgreens.com/theOC today.
Again, simply visit athleticgreens.com/theOC to take control of your health and give AG1 a try. Sunbasket delivers healthy meals so good. You'll wonder how you ever did it without them. Convenience is key, and they deliver everything you need to keep you well-fed all week long.
Their award-winning chefs are constantly innovating with new recipes and global tastes to keep it interesting each week with dozens of options.
Sunbasket's fresh and ready meals are a perfect hot lunch hack. Heat and eat in minutes.
You can put dinner on autopilot with easy-to-prep meal kits that impress for date night or win over the picky eaters in your family, like warm bok choy and cabbage Caesar with panko parmesan crumble, citrus roasted sole, and cabbage with almond coriander crunch, and my favorite, roasted halibut and tomato olive tapenade over lemony polenta. Yum.
Yum. I'm hungry now.
Yeah.
Honestly, I just love how easy it is, and lunch is actually my hardest meal because I'm always like, I want a salad or I want something healthy and light, and it's not something I want to cook. So instead of ordering, now I have Sunbasket's delivery, and I'm really happy with all my lunch choices.
In addition to having mealtime covered, they've got healthy snacks or grab-and-go breakfast items for busy mornings. Set up weekly delivery and skip a week when you need to.
Whether you eat vegetarian, paleo, gluten-free, or low-carb, high-protein, Sunbasket has something to check any and every box.
Right now, Sunbasket is offering $90 off and a free gift when you order. Go to sunbasket.com/OC and enter promo code OC at checkout.
That's sunbasket.com/OC and enter promo code OC. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your book that just came out last month?
Sure. So I just had a new book come out in January called The Yoga Prescription: A Chronic Illness Survival Guide, which is about, I guess I should back this up in order to explain what this book is. So after the writer's strike, I started going through all these like medical problems, and I was told I had MS. which was like devastating because I was like, wait, I'm supposed to have a career and like, have this great life. What am I going to do now? Luckily, the symptoms were very mild and I was okay. So I wrote a memoir about that, which sort of taught me that like sharing my story about what I'm living with helps other people. And it was a great way to connect. And I realized I had learned a lot doing that. And during that time, I had also gotten certified to teach yoga. And so as I was writing, I was also teaching yoga. And so this book that just came out is sort of a combination of what I learned in yoga and what I learned with living with a chronic illness and how to not necessarily take a pose like down dog and like that's going to cure something, but take the philosophies of yoga and use that to get through your day to day. Because I still have, so I've also got diagnosed with lupus. So it may be both or it was lupus the entire time. I don't know, but I'm great now. But I have days where I can't get out of bed. And so like, what do you do then when you can't physically do something? And so the philosophies of yoga really help with that of sort of like, okay, don't beat yourself up, just live in the moment. Like, what can you do today? Well, today, maybe I can read a book. Maybe I can like move my arms or whatever it is. And so I wrote this book as sort of like the response to people who hear you have an illness and look fine and say like, well, you should just try yoga. You'll be good. You'll get cured. And that's not really the case. So I wanted people like me to have something to use when they were going through an illness or a diagnosis.
So inspirational. I started reading your memoir last night, and I'm looking forward to reading more of it.
How old were you when you were diagnosed?
I was 28 with MS. So
wow.
It was like, and it was also a time when people weren't sharing a lot. Like Instagram didn't really exist. There was no one to connect to. And the only people telling their stories were like older male celebrities. Like Montel Williams or Meredith Vieira's husband. And there weren't like sort of these young people, which was weird to me. And so I was like, well, I know how to write and I know what I'm going through and I know I can't be alone. So I'm going to write my story, which is my memoir, Lovesick. And that's how I got there.
I think it's incredible for you to share your story. And it probably, reaches a lot of people that don't feel like they can do the same to kind of talk about it. And like you said, and especially being a 28-year-old going through that.
Lovesick by Cory Martin.
Yes.
Put it in your Kindle, wherever you get books. Well, let's get into the episode, you guys. I'd love to hear your take on all of this because it's a super fun episode and there's a lot going on.
The Lonely Hearts Club. It is Valentine's Day in the OC, but is anyone excited? Sandy attempts to make it up to Kirsten for lying about Rebecca, but Sandy makes a choice to see Rebecca on Valentine's Day, putting his marriage in jeopardy. Zach, Seth, and Summer head to San Diego to pitch their comic book idea, but Seth can't handle Summer and Zach being together. Ryan tries to make peace with Caleb for the sake of Lindsay. Marissa and Alex take their relationship to the next step as the tide turns. Directed by Ian Toynton, written by J.J. Philbin. Original air date, February 10th.
Today is February 10th.
Yes. We're recording on February 10th.
This worked
Keeps
out
happening.
every day. Not every episode, but we're recording on the days that these aired. Isn't that interesting?
Wow.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yes. It is cool.
So,
the episode. Where does the episode open?
Where it normally does.
Where else? Yes.
In the kitchen, Cohen Kitchen. Rear Moth by, how do you say this? Sap plays? Sorry, P-S-A-P-P. I don't know how to say that.
I'd go with Sap.
Well, Sap. And it actually, just a little quick side note, it plays in quite a few scenes throughout the episode. And they did that a lot in this episode. The song's playing the same song for like 3 different scenes. Anyway, just a little bit of filler there. So Sandy, first he's in this leather coat that I've never seen him in, but he fills the kitchen with more roses than I've ever seen. And he says what? That he's like, well, your mother deserves a lot on Valentine's Day because he learned last year to not be a bah humbug, and he's prepping for, I don't know what's to come, but but Seth points out you've been burning the midnight oil, and Sandy has this very quick moment where he's like, yeah, there's some truth in that. And, why don't you just help me with the roses, of course.
I didn't know in this scene that he didn't know yet that Kirsten saw Rebecca at his office.
Yeah, I couldn't because last saw was that big cliffhanger of her saying, Rebecca, with like that terrible look on her face. So I think as he's doing this, I was assuming, he's already making up for it. But we find out later that he didn't know that she knows at this point. Anyway.
Right. He just had a million roses in the kitchen.
Yeah. Or he feels guilty and he's like, I also have to make up for last year and I know what I'm doing.
Right. There's definitely some projection there, right?
For sure.
We had a very long intro, which sometimes we have those and sometimes we don't. But these longer pages of these scenes don't always happen in most television shows. But we have this is the extra long Ryan-Seth discussion where Seth has decided, right, that the universe has pushed you guys together. And Ryan's like, the universe is involved now, huh?
Right. Sexually charged nose graze, to be specific.
He called it nose humping. That's just
nose humping.
I was like, ew, who says humping anymore?
It's a word I hate, to be honest. I hate that word. I also hate the word horny. Horny and hump are like please don't ever say I'm horny or hump.
Or moist.
I know they go together. Let's just cancel them out.
Makes me cringe.
Seriously. But yeah, have you guys ever experienced a very intense nose hump? Nose graze? I'm like, I don't know about that.
We had we had Seth kind of quiet and kind of humble before this. Mm-hmm. And now that he's had this electric experience with the nose, that now his mind is open. It's the obsessive, neurotic Seth has been released and he's decided that the universe is doing this. So we've got this, he's back, I think, especially this obsession now with Summer. And he's creating his reality. It's so interesting to watch Seth as an adult now and you realize he's just making this stuff up.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when you watch the episode before that, because I went back and I was like, what, did they nose hump? Like, what really happened? And I was like, they got 6 inches apart. Like, it wasn't real.
You're like,
it's
they
all
were like
in his
COVID
head.
safe distance. What is happening?
Exactly.
The earth shook. And he was reborn. And the obsession was something. It's like, okay, they had full closure with Alex, the nose hump. And now it's full on back on. And he can't go to San Diego. And Ryan's like, you need to keep it in your trousers, no matter what. Then, of course, Kirsten does show up because Sandy is like, there's my Valentine. And she sticks those roses down the garbage disposal. And all I could think was that a real garbage disposal or did she just do that? I don't think.
Like shake them?
Yeah, or did they actually turn on the garbage disposal? I was just curious. I don't know. I wanted to know the details of how that stuff worked.
I guarantee, what I do know is the disposal wouldn't have done what you see when Sandy pulls the roses out.
Yeah.
So someone definitely got in there with some hedges.
Something happened.
Hedges? What are they called? Shears.
Shears.
Sorry. Shears. Whatever. I'm thrown by this whole humping business. Did you know that by choosing one used garment instead of new, you can save 77 gallons of water?
Did not know that.
Yeah. ThredUp, an online consignment and thrift store, is working to do the planet good and give life to like new clothing.
ThredUp is one of the largest online thrift stores where you can save up to 90% off estimated retail. Get the insane deals of thrifting with the convenience of online shopping.
I am a huge fan of thrift shopping. I don't love going to thrift stores.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can do it online.
I know.
Amen.
Yeah. Customize your search by your size, style, and budget so you can find the best deals for more than 35,000 brands like Banana Republic, Madewell, Nike, and Ann Taylor Loft instantly. I'm a huge fan of thrifting as well and consignment. And actually, CG, my daughter, she introduced me to ThredUp. She got me this really cool dress for Christmas. I mean, she's given me some really, really awesome gifts. I have like tops from Free People. I have a dress from Diane von Furstenberg, one of my favorites. And they have all of your favorites too.
ThredUp also has an easy return policy, so they make thrifting worry-free.
ThredUp is offering a deal just for new customers. So right now, head to thredup.com and get up to an additional 50% off plus free shipping on your first order.
That's up to an extra 50% off plus free shipping on your first order just by heading to thredup.com. That's thredup.com for up to 50% off and free shipping on your first order. What if you could use science to discover more about your body all year long? Give yourself more clarity and better understand your health and wellness with Everlywell at-home lab test.
Knowledge is power. I want to know what is going on in my body so I can act accordingly. Plus, I don't respond to the it's all in your head talk. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Everlywell at-home lab tests give you physician-reviewed results and personalized insights so you can take action on your health and wellness, all at an affordable and transparent cost.
With over 30 tests, you'll be able to choose the ones that make the most sense for you. Food sensitivity, metabolism, sleep and stress, and thyroid are just a few of the many options.
I am doing the food allergy test. I'm actually a little scared because I just love all foods and I'm so scared of what's going to come back, but I haven't done it before because it didn't seem as accessible or easy to go to a doctor's office and have it done. But now at home, I can do it, send it in and get the results. So I'm going to have some answers.
And I've had my hormones tested and now I'm in the process of balancing them out. But also next, I am looking forward to the results of my food sensitivity test. I'm super curious what that will reveal because I eat everything, but I do get I know I have reactions from some things, and I just love that the science is there, that we can figure stuff out.
Right. Please don't tell me I can't eat donuts. It's so simple. Everlywell ships your at-home lab test straight to you with everything needed for a simple sample collection. Using the prepaid shipping label, mail your test back to a certified lab.
In just days, your physician-reviewed results and actionable insights are sent to your device. And you can share the results with your primary care physician to help guide your next steps.
And for listeners of the show, Everlywell is offering a special discount of 20% off an at-home lab test at everlywell.com/OC.
That's everlywell.com/OC for 20% off your at-home lab test. everlywell.com/OC. So now we're in the Cohen bedroom and Kirsten is just... This is the way we expected her to look after last episode. And Sandy comes up behind her and says, okay, I think I know what this is about and I can explain. And she says, you lied to me. And and she explains that I came home, we had dinner, you didn't say anything. And so she sat on that stuff for the whole night. That's amazing.
You know what? I have a personal experience where I found out some information in a relationship and I sat on that for a week.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, it's possible because you have to plan your attack, so to speak.
That's true.
You have to process, how am I going to handle this? What am I going to do? So I'm just saying.
You know, and okay, so there's an overall thing with Sandy and Kirsten here. As frustrating as this whole situation is with Rebecca, I thought about this. So the dialogue says, I know what this is about. I can explain. You lied to me, Sandy. But, now, if he had played it the way Peter played it, he played it very matter-of-fact and not defensive. But if he changed his acting style and said, I know this is about, I can explain, and brought it up, he would have been very, very defensive and guilty. But the way he delivers it, it's very... There's nothing going on.
Yeah, it's convincing.
So that Kirsten, he makes sense.
Yes.
But she's also saying, this is very complicated. And he's like, I agree with you. It's very complicated and there's nothing going on. And Kirsten he presents it in a very adult, even though there's emotion involved, it's not overreacting and being a drama. It's not, he's not acting super guilty.
Which is smart on his part. But also I think in the overall sense of the show, it was to protect, people loved Peter Gallagher. And if you made him that bad guy that's going to ruin a marriage, you'd be like, oh, no. Sandy Cohen was the dad and the husband that was good and you wanted them to succeed, right? So
do you remember this storyline? Do you remember this storyline coming up and how I feel like the writers took extra care putting in so many little details of why he had to do what he did, knowing that the audience was going to be frustrated. But this is the medium that we're in. You're trying to create all this conflict in their relationship and making plausible choices in the scenes that Max needs, please do this for me. I'm a dying man. And Rebecca needs help, and him feeling like he needs to, that he is in the middle of it and he's being pulled apart because he doesn't want to, ruin his wife. Yeah.
Actually, I was going through old notes that I have on my computer, and I found some Studio Network notes from this episode.
Oh, good.
And that was one of the things they brought up was like, please don't ruin that relationship. And the writers had to respond, and there must have been a draft or something where maybe it went too far, where it wasn't as delicate and wasn't as like the way Peter played it or something. Right. And so
he totally nose-humped her.
Yeah, exactly. So they were like, no nose humping. We need to keep this a little more PG. So I think they were trying to protect it. But then I think all the writers were too, right? So like you kind of do that with writing. You like push it and then you go, no, that's too far, and pulled it back, not to ruin that relationship, So they wanted,
but that's a big thing
and they had to
in episodic TV, right? With notes, because you write something one way and then what ends up on the screen could be completely different. And I know that happens a few times in this episode, and we'll get to more of that when the scenes come up. But it's interesting how it kind of morphs. The next scene, Ryan shows up with a rose for Lindsay. Now, okay, so they're taking a break supposedly because she wants to connect with Caleb, and she says, "You're such a girl" to him. And I wanted your opinion as a writer, Cory. Do you think you could get away with a comment like that nowadays in this environment?
No, probably not.
Probably not.
Right?
Because I don't know.
Actually, I mean, that's kind of like a innocent thing that I would still...
You would think, but I wonder. Because now it's like, you question everything. And I questioned that. I was like, I mean, she's calling him a girl. And I know some people would be like, you can't, that's not a girl thing.
Yeah, because that's demeaning to women. It's like, oh, you're a girl. So that means you're soft and blah, blah, blah.
We're trying to stay away from stereotypes in our atmosphere now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so true.
For sure.
But I thought it was really sweet. I don't know. Okay, so
what?
I noticed that we're both kind of fangirling on Ryan in this episode.
I have comments throughout this episode. Okay, I'm just gonna blow my cover. I'm like, I'm fucking in love with Ryan.
Yeah.
I now at my older age watching this, I'm like, I love Ryan.
You picked the wrong
just
guy.
Saying.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, what the hell, man? What was I thinking?
But I always liked the Ryan.
Well, yeah, you were onto something. I'm just catching up.
No, but I think there's something really, really. I just love his energy. I love Ben's energy in the storyline. As frustrating as it, the show is meant to be frustrating. We're supposed to yell at it and feel love and
I yell real loud in this episode. I'm like real anxious to get to those moments. I mean, I couldn't believe some of the things.
Okay, we'll get to them. But I think it is really sweet that they, they didn't take a break because they didn't want to be together. They were trying to take a break from Caleb. So, or just because she finally understood that you being involved is making it hard for me to get close to my dad. They were smart about that. So that's what
Right. Okay, so we're gonna go to Summer's bedroom.
Oh, but sorry.
What?
Her request. How do I make it better? She says, "Please apologize."
Oh, right.
He does anything but. He's like anything but that, and she's like, "Okay, I'll do that," which shows how much he likes her.
Yeah,
we can't.
Right, Ryan wants her to apologize to Caleb because he gave him a heart attack.
Yeah.
Okay, Summer's bedroom. Rear Moth plays again by Sap. Seth comes over to feel Summer out. Like, is this going to be like too hard for you? All three of us going to San Diego, the nose humping. See, I hate, and how many times have I said that word now? I said I hated it and it keeps coming back.
I think he makes the assumption that Summer's going to be exactly the way he is, right? And she's not.
No. Well, she's not acting like it.
She's not acting like it.
Yeah, she's like more normal about it. Like, it wasn't that big of a deal. Like, yeah, we got close.
Yeah, she's like, what do you? Yeah. Well, she plays it cool. Summer knows how to play it cool.
So can I ask you a question? So this comic book came up, and if Summer is officially part of the pitching now, when she's like, I just want to rock our pitch. And I thought I was like, I don't remember that Summer was actually a part of it, but because you're there representing Miss Vixen and the three of you are presenting the comic book based on, but I think it's really cool that you're part of it. I just didn't remember that Summer was a part of it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I knew because I remember filming those scenes.
But I feel like, wasn't it like, did it come out of you being like Summer being like, oh, I want to be in charge of all costumes and like, I want full approval of what she does and looks like and all of that. Like,
right.
That tracks for sure. It's definitely not one of those times where Josh took something from my personal life and was like, you're obsessed with comic books. You're going to be, that did not happen.
That wasn't you?
That was not me. Brody always loved comic books and stuff, but no, not me. So but yes, I think you're right, Cory. It was definitely more like, I want to pick my outfits and look cute. That was Summer.
Right. But I think you're kind of like the star power almost. You're like the talent showing up and the exec at Wildstorm will be. So we're at the hospital. Caleb is leaving. Totally the front of our studio.
Oh, yeah. I saw that. I was like, oh, yeah.
Totally redressed.
The parking lot.
That's cool. That's where our trailers were. That's where we walked in. That's, that's kind of where we lived for about 4 years. And of course, Caleb is annoyed in the wheelchair. It just reminded me of my dad. Reminded me of like every person.
Oh, my pop, my grandpa. Are you kidding? He would never get in a wheelchair. Like it was a pride. Nope. It wasn't going to happen.
And what's interesting, he's like, I'm just so humiliated. Nobody's thinking about thinking it comes out of your own ego, Caleb. Anyway, but he is the man of that generation. That he so reminds me of my dad. In a good way. But of course, Lindsay and Kirsten are there to escort him. And Kirsten tells Caleb he can make it right by Lindsay fixing things with Ryan. Of course, she gives him Mad Libs, which is kind of a cute thing. I used to play them when I was a kid. Yeah.
Love those.
Yeah, I play them with my daughter now. They are still going strong.
But Caleb agrees. Okay, fine. Why don't you invite Ryan over? Which is like, so here he is saying, he was a changed man in the last episode coming out of this heart attack. And I posed the question, how long is that going to last?
Yeah.
One episode. Not even. One scene.
One scene. I remember being frustrated.
Before Caleb goes back to Caleb.
Yes. Now we'll call them the dynamic trio. They're going to San Diego in Zach's car. I want this little Miss Vixen cutout. Like, where did that go? Why do I not have it? That would be so cool to have.
You should text Josh right now. Yeah. Where is it?
I should.
He probably
fucking has it.
There's probably some things that he
has so many things. He doesn't even. I'm not even allowed to have the real Princess Sparkle.
Oh no,
Sparkles.
You have. Where is she? She's behind you.
I have an imposter behind me from Etsy.
From Etsy, you had to order it yourself.
Yes. Yeah, I did. I had to order my own goddamn Princess Sparkle because Josh won't give it to me.
So
Josh?
I love these. Okay. I love these car scenes. There's always something, there's just always a great dynamic and it's thematic in our show. But you know how I like to watch the show with subtitles because I can see so you can see things, they're very good about getting stuff. And I couldn't get your line of what you say, the first thing about his music. So
I had no idea what I said.
I found it. You're saying I found it somewhere else. Ugh, what? Are the Olsons making records now?
Oh.
I was like, what?
That's good.
The Olsons making music. And it was like, what is... So I don't know.
The good old summer digs.
So
zingers.
Whatever he was playing, which we don't know what it was, but it sounded like the Olsons to Summer. That's funny.
Right.
When you said the subtitles, so I just remembered something. There was an episode, so everything gets subtitled, right? So you can use that. But when they do that, when they type that in there, the episode goes to them with just dialogue, no music. And somehow something happened in editing where they had just placed music over a bunch of cuss words. But they hadn't pulled those cuss words out of the soundtrack. So they came up in the, if you were watching that episode, you would have seen the the NC-17 version of the OC.
Of a dirty rap song.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I was like,
oh my God, that's so funny.
No, the things you learn watching subtitles, it's pretty interesting.
It is a good little tidbit.
Yeah.
For sure.
But of course, they start their bickering bantering right away.
Yes.
And the whole TG thing comes up and kind of an awkward thing to be talking about in front of
Tijuana trip. Yep,
but you guys
Tijuana trip.
You weren't even together then or anything. You were just...
No, but I have to say when Zach, they're talking about how they were fighting over the bed to sleep in. And Zach is like, well, who won? Who got the bed? And they both know they slept in the bed together. Honestly, when Zach said that question, I myself watching it got so nervous. I was like, oh my God. Like, how is she going to answer? I got nervous for Summer because that is so awkward.
Aww.
I think. With a boyfriend and an ex-boy. I mean, come on. It's not fun. It's not easy.
It's okay.
Not easy being Summer.
So Julie's had a 2 episode break from the show. And she's back.
You look fabulous, by the way.
Oh my gosh, yes. That was I was like, go Julie.
We were just saying in the last episode that whenever she comes back from Europe, there's going to be a new look. Now, in real life, so think about an episode. It's 8 days of shooting, plus you've got some weekends in there. So two episodes can be over 3 weeks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember having major FOMO. And that word, we didn't even use that back then. But just being super excited to come back. And also, I've said this before, I came back with like longer, darker, redder, whatever. And I had extensions. And I was just super happy to be back at work. It was like my Disneyland away from home. It was so fun. And
your new hairstyle looked great.
Yeah,
it did.
It was fun. But she shows up and she... of course, with all the Louis Vuitton luggage and the hello. But also the fact that the way she dresses, I just wouldn't dress like that in real life. She's just, she's done up. Do you travel like that? No, we tend to wear sweats, but she's like head to toe.
No, hell no.
Yeah.
I do know people do like to get dressed up on planes, and I'm always very baffled by the heels and the whole thing. But you're there. Lindsay's there taking care of Caleb.
She goes, how's the ticker? But she first, she clocks Lindsay, right? And her immediate distaste, I was like, well, okay, it's Julie. But she instantly goes, I know when I'm not wanted. But something's going on in her head, right? That Lindsay's there. So.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And then you go to wake Marissa up, who's like asleep at 1:00 in the afternoon.
Right.
In a nightie again. Marissa keeps sleeping in these like super like nightie lingerie negligees in high school. And we're just like, that just doesn't
she really
happen.
does. I thought about that when I saw that. I was like, wow.
You did.
Oh, Marissa.
Well, and we touched on
like,
this that, okay, let's be honest. We should probably discuss this, that we are dressed, that the young ladies on the show, I hate to say it, but are like eye candy for, you want them to be in bikinis and lingerie.
Right.
And
like
there's
the designers
sexy,
that like, I didn't have designer clothes when I was 16, like that were just over the top.
Yeah.
Like
this is when
it was like Forever 21,
Exactly,
Wet Seal, Contempo. I'm really dating myself now, but yes.
This proves what Adam said on the podcast. This scene in particular was definitely like, or this whole, Caleb, Julie in this mansion. This is the celebration of affluence.
Oh yeah, yes.
This,
well, you bring her back a Chanel clutch, and she's like, thanks. Like,
like put it on the table. She's so harsh, and she's like, oh, Marissa, I've done some real soul searching. She's like, I hope you didn't hurt yourself. It's a great line.
I love that line. That was so good.
It is a great line.
And then she threatens to take away the BlackBerry. Who cares? And then the phone. So explain to us why people had 2 at the time. Because I got a BlackBerry and it was everything. Although I wish I still have my BlackBerry. I typed so much better on that than I do on my iPhone. But
I hear they just like cancel. Like if you have a BlackBerry, it will no longer work.
It doesn't. Yeah, they just cancel. But
there
work a phone signal.
There was a version where it was just email on a BlackBerry.
Texting and or email.
I don't even think you could text, because I had one that we got through the office through Wonderland, and it was just email that forwarded to that BlackBerry.
So
it was like one of the original versions. So you needed a phone too.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah, you couldn't just have one. Although while we were on the show, I remember the cast being gifted sidekicks.
Do
you remember what those were?
Yeah.
The T-Mobile.
They would flip, and you can type like a BlackBerry keyboard, and then you can flip it, and it's a phone.
Right.
And it was like just came out. This is very like early 2000s, but like T-Mobile hooked us up with these sidekicks.
I remember that.
When we were on the show. But I always had 2 phones. I had a bat phone because we got that phone and I kept my other, whatever. You need texting and talking. You couldn't do the keypad text. That was just like torture.
But here's also a comment on how much things have changed. The fact that she's like, my phone. People don't communicate on the phone much anymore. Everything is through text.
That's so true.
Oh yeah, I'm like, don't call me.
Yeah,
just
please don't call. I don't want to answer.
Please don't call me.
Rachel, you know what's funny? This just throws me back. When you and I read something recently, I don't know, I stumbled on an interview that you did, and one of them was, I hate talking on the phone.
It's true.
It's true. But when Rachel and I first talked about doing this podcast and we got together and we talked on the phone, I didn't realize it was so painful for you.
Sitting there like,
it flowed perfectly.
It was business.
I do have like a terror, I have this weird anxiety thing with talking on the phone. It's very strange. I haven't gotten there in therapy yet. I'll let you know what I come up with.
I don't want us to be a source of pain. Just kidding.
No, okay. Sandy. Let's go to Sandy, who comes up to the inn at Playa del Rey.
I want to make a mention that the Playa del Rey Inn, they're actually at the inn. It is the real inn. Yeah. It's 50 miles from Newport. And I thought, but it's only a few miles from our studio. So I understood the proximity, but then I was like, I wonder, the fact that she's 50 miles away. Anyway. We can talk about that later. But I do believe it's the inside, because I went on the website of the hotel and it looks exactly like the inside, because I wasn't sure if we built the set or not.
I would think it is, because why would you just go pay to film the outside? Like if you're going to pay to be there, they would have
I think it's the real
whole
hotel.
Thing and used it.
And it's a beautiful hotel and it's actually a very well-liked hotel.
I mean, I felt like every time I drove by that, because I was living in Santa Monica, for the last 20 years. I would always drive by that and have good memories of the OC. Be like, oh, we shot there. That's fun.
So inside, she apologizes for complicating Sandy's life. And she says, I have a Valentine's Day gift for you. And it's a copy of Gandhi, their first movie, their first date movie, which is, a little.
What year would that have been? 91? I'm just throwing that out there. I have no idea.
I thought Gandhi was in the 80s, but anyway.
Probably. I just come up with random numbers I know what I'm talking about.
So
I'm sure she'll let us know.
It's 1982.
It's 1982. I
Yeah.
just turned off my
Okay.
iPad.
I was just a little off. Slightly. I was 1. Give me a break.
So 1982, how old would they have been? That's,
oh God.
We're doing that. No, sorry. Okay, so.
Don't give me math.
No, they would have been in middle school, high school. Or very early.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Or wait, they were together in college? Okay, anyways. She gives him a gift. This is not good. Okay?
Yeah.
Gift on Valentine's Day. This is just not. This whole thing has my panties in a bunch. I'm just like, this is not okay.
Right.
That's probably not the right analogy.
But he also says, he does say, he decides it's best not to be her lawyer. I think he was doing it out of this, now that he's there, he sees that he thought that it could be complicated, and it is getting really complicated.
Yeah. And he's like,
no, he's saying that to save his marriage. Let's be honest.
Right.
So
right.
We're at the Cohen's pool. Kirsten says that the credit card company called to verify that he was staying at the inn at Playa del Rey.
And once again, his delivery is yeah, it's for Rebecca. If he could have been like, it's for Rebecca, but he plays it. The tone is very, it is what it is, right?
Very honest and this is what it is. And it's hard to get mad because you're like, okay, I really feel he's telling the truth,
And Kirsten's not being overly dramatic. And she says, and he says, I'm not going to take the case. And she says, don't do it because of me. And I love this line. He goes, of course I'm doing it because of you. Of course.
Right.
And this is the right thing to do. And Kirsten is so happy. She's so happy because regardless of whether it's right, whatever's what is rational, it's evoking some real dark feelings.
Yeah.
Right? So,
yeah,
absolutely.
And she's like, yay.
And
let's
Sandy's
go to the
like
arches.
doing the thing. It's like that thing where you're like, I hope they say the right thing. And then if he didn't say the right thing, you'd be like, I knew he wouldn't.
Right.
Like you're always expecting the man to like read your mind. Like, come on, do the right thing.
Right. And he usually always does, doesn't he? Guys, this has been a very light Marissa episode.
Interestingly, because it was promoted as a big, we will get to that moment, the big moment that's coming up, but it was.
Yes. Yeah. But I couldn't believe, I'm like, wait, she's like barely in this episode, right?
I know.
Or was she? Yeah. That's what it felt like anyway, watching it. But we're at the bait shop now. That's why I brought that up, because now we see Marissa and she's helping Alex.
Which is really sweet. Yeah. She's just.
It's very sweet. It's very sweet. I like their relationship. I like everything about it.
I'm so here for this relationship. I think it's
too.
Me too.
This is also my favorite outfit of the show, that green kind of cap sleeve blazer. I just love green. So just making that note.
On Marissa?
On Marissa.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're cute.
But Alex always has great advice for her. And I don't think Marissa was getting that from any of her other relationships for some reason. Alex really helps her through. Yeah, she's
like the mature, I figured this out on my own, but like now I can help you. Like a mentor too.
Yeah.
Emotionally evolved.
Yeah.
She says when her mom is driving her crazy, she just says, that's an interesting idea, Mom. I'll give that some thought. I've worked on that. If somebody has something they want to come to me with, instead of defending, or it's like, especially if it's a criticism, to actually say, I'll look at that.
I need
to really a mature thing to do. And it doesn't,
Yeah, I need to do that more.
We all just need to take some advice from Alex.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Can she come hang out with us?
But then we're finally at the Wildstorm lobby. Were you ready to move on from that scene?
Well, I was just going to say, at what first point, and she says, well, then how about anybody who helps my mom crazier gets a free dinner? And it reminded me of when she was like, when DJ was like, you're just dating me to get your mom crazy. And I was like, but Alex set some boundaries. And it's not like, at first I was like, is she inviting her to dinner with her mom because she's going to dinner? And I realized it was separate. It was separate things. But Alex calls it a date. And Marissa, I like your note that Marissa looks a little scared.
She does.
She's like, oh,
she's like,
think about it, like
shit.
A female, like a lesbian relationship today seems very normal, right? Like, but back then, that was still 20 years ago. Like, even though it was out there, like teenagers weren't talking about that as much, were they?
I don't think so.
Like
maybe they
definitely
were
not as open as it is today, for sure.
I mean, Josh has expressed that this was always the network had a very strong voice when it came to this storyline.
Yeah.
Do you remember any of that?
I do, kind of. Like, they're like, oh, don't go too far. Like, we don't want to see them do anything more than kiss. Or we don't, like, they were very, like, cautious, which seems, like, saying it now seems so, like, dated and icky and, like, oh, God, like, really?
Yeah.
We weren't open-minded enough to just...
Well, it's Fox.
Right.
Yeah, right? Like...
Well, but also, then my other question to you is, overall, your entire experience at the OC, how much of the network do you remember, especially being Stephanie's assistant and being there, how much do you remember that there was a lot of discussion about what the network wants?
I feel like there was a lot of it in the beginning. And then once they realized, like, okay, Josh and Stephanie are onto something and this is a big show, like maybe we can step back. But I always remember thinking, like, okay, these are people who have jobs and their job is to give notes. So if they didn't give notes and they just said, this is great every time, like, would they be fired, right? Like, that's how I always looked at parts of Hollywood, was just like,
right. They have to justify
if your job
their presence.
is to give notes, don't you have to always find something that's wrong?
Right.
Like, you can't always say, great, keep going.
I think I've heard this. It's really easy to say no and be critical in Hollywood. To be, yes, that's great. Move on. That's not the norm.
Right. It's like, what's wrong?
Yeah.
Right.
So when anything actually happens and it gets greenlit and it's done, it's kind of a miracle.
Yeah.
When you think of everything that gets rejected.
Right.
Wow. Well, okay, now Wildstorm. Lobby. Amazing set, I wrote. Did you see that set? It was amazing.
No, I was watching that and I was like, did they build that? I didn't remember.
Yeah.
Did they build it?
I think
Wasn't it all built upstairs in the offices? There was, I know the conference room that they're in when they do the actual pitch was upstairs.
Because you can see the bridge on Rosecrans out the window. That's out
Oh,
there.
really?
Yeah.
I remember being up there, but I don't know. I feel like everything was built up there.
I got to give it to our set department, our art directors.
Oh, yeah.
It was
Set
really
deck is
cool.
just, yeah.
Cool lobby. Zach is nervous before their pitch. And of course, Summer has to go floss. Super cute.
Yeah. And then Zach reveals that they're going to go backpacking in Italy over the summer for his sister's wedding. Seth does not take the news very well. And spiral will happen.
Yeah, it's like and which is interesting. This comic book should be the most important thing. And he doesn't have the capacity to focus on that when he hears, like in his mind, Summer and Seth are already back together. Like he's made up his decision. He literally thinks that they're back together and they have to be together. And now life hasn't, it's so weird.
Right.
Like life is still the same as it was yesterday, but in his head, it's not.
So true. It's like Summer's cheating on him right now.
Yeah.
Like he's like, what? You're going to go to Italy? Like, you're going to leave me? Like,
I think we've established that Seth is a narcissist.
Well, he's got it. Yeah, he's got an obsession of the mind that can't turn off. But then an assistant comes out and says, "Sorry, guys, the pitch is moved tomorrow, but we're going to put you up in a hotel in town." And which I thought was pretty generous. And because you guys don't live that, I mean, it's LA. You could go home if you wanted to, but I think that's a really generous thing, because they really screwed you over. But it's also a good way to get our trio into an awkward hotel situation, right?
Yep. Yes, it is. And I'll talk more on that when we get there because we still have Caleb's house where so he comes to apologize to Caleb, who's playing pool, and Caleb just insults him. Again.
Gone. It's like behind closed doors. It's like he's one way to Kirsten. Okay, hey, Lindsay, bring him on over. And he is the absolute antithesis. It's just, but I got to say.
He's a real jerk.
But he called the same thing. He just repeats himself. Once again, he says, you're, got a girl pregnant. You're a criminal. And it's an interesting thing. He doesn't separate what Kirsten has as an individual from what he has. It's all his. He's the king.
Right.
And it's his entire domain,
This is where I actually made the comment that I forget what Ryan says at the end of this scene.
He says, well, I don't know why I even try with you.
Yeah, I don't know. It was how he delivered it. But in that moment, I was like, yes, I am in love with Ryan. That's where it happened, everybody, folks.
Although I do love a good Alan Dale, Ben McKenzie scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're good together. But let me tell you, Ryan, even better.
Class A. And he's just a smirk. He just smirks when he walks out. You think he's, some characters, there's that last beat in the scene where you might think, oh, did I go too far? And Caleb goes, just smirks. Like he really enjoyed
was so good at that.
putting him in his place, didn't he? Yeah. Now we are in the hotel room.
I was trying to remember, I remember shooting these scenes and I feel like they were at a hotel. I know. Do you believe it? I actually remember shooting these.
Cory, Rachel doesn't remember too much, so we're going to celebrate. She remembers this?
Nothing. But I remember, and I feel like, I could be wrong, but I feel like we shot this at the hotel right off the freeway exit.
I was going to say that it was very elaborate for a set because it even had the wall air conditioner. So I think it was it seemed to be a real hotel.
I think it was, because I know we did go there at one point, so I'm assuming this was what it was for.
Yeah.
But it was like a Holiday Inn, something right off the freeway, right off the exit on Rosecrans in Manhattan Beach.
And
that's
probably
where we shot it at this hotel.
Set. Yeah, it's probably redressed by set department.
Yeah. But this is where Seth starts to really lose his mind because he's realizing that Zach and Summer are going to be in a bed together and Seth's going to be alone in his bed on the other side of a very thin wall.
And it's interesting, I think even though they don't say anything, Zach and Summer see what's going on, right?
Yeah. How could you not? Yeah. It's like a neon sign.
Because Zach's he's like, is that okay? That okay with you? Because at first he's like, we're in here. I mean, it's just so, I don't know. Poor
I enjoy these
Seth.
scenes.
But,
Poor Seth.
But it's
Poor Seth.
Yeah.
I don't feel bad. And then we're at the pier and Sandy's meeting with Max. Sandy feels bad that he's not going to take on Rebecca's case, right? And he's talking to Max about it. Is this where he goes to get him tea?
He does. And I think this is where this is one of those moments where I was really paying attention. If you're really paying attention to the scene, and Peter is such a wonderful performer. You can see the need to help Max. And he's like, like, I just feel like I'm leaving you in the lurch. I'm sorry. And that's the thing that is Sandy. He really does want to help these people.
At his core. I mean, that's how he started, right? That's how Ryan ended up here. So it's like, you stuck with that. That's who Sandy is.
Yeah.
Yep, and he's going to go get him some tea. Okay, hold there. Back at the hotel. Back to the hotel. Seth.
The trio is watching some TV.
Yeah, Seth's in between them.
Reminiscent of the Anna, Seth, and Summer in Palm Springs.
Yep. How does it feel, Seth? How does it feel?
And this is one where I found the outline because I was trying to look for the original script from this. And the outline was like, took it a lot further than this scene did, where Seth kept coming in and like he went to his room and then he'd come back like, what are you doing now? What are you doing now? Kind of thing. And so I was like, I mean, this played really well.
Shot that. Yeah. But I feel like I think
Something
we did
similar.
a few more of Seth like not that easily going to his room.
Closing the door, doing the knock.
Yeah.
Opening it again. Yeah.
Yes. The secret knock, I laughed.
Yeah, that was good. I was like, that seems like Adam. I'm not sure that was
written. Does seem like Adam improv for sure. Oh, man.
Back at the pier, Sandy comes back and he finds that Max has passed away. But he seems
who didn't see that coming? We keep seeing these characters like leave other characters alone on a pier to get them a beverage or a food item, only to come back. You know, when Ryan for Lindsay and went into the ocean, thought she drowned, and then Sandy.
But then again
comes back.
Then again, he's sitting there. He's on a, he offers to get him the tea, and Max says, "Yes, I'd like that." So it wasn't as egregious as Ryan leaving Lindsay on the beach in the water.
Well, yes, that's fair. But Max is dead when he returns. Sandy is with Rebecca, consoling her. He's been out all night again, and they hug because Max has passed. Just wanted to point that out.
So, beach at sunrise. Now, here's another part where I thought, okay, it's already sunrise. Like what? I'm looking at all of the details. What time is it when he was with Max? Okay, it was late at night, late enough so that something has transpired. It's been all night, and he has to drive all the way up to Playa del Rey. So now it's the morning, sunrise. It's morning. And there are no words. They're just, which was a beautiful shot there. So
I agree. It was.
Great performances. Very sad.
But now we can go to the comic book meeting on that note.
Sorry.
Oh my God, Seth. Oh, Seth. I remember Cindy, our makeup artist, having to make his eyes look like he hadn't slept.
Yeah. And the hair.
Geez, and the hair and like how he's talking, how he's like doing the drum beats and he's like singing all his lines.
I got it. So
I remember
50 minutes. They say that's all you need.
Yeah. I feel like that was all Adam. I don't know if that was written or not, but it definitely seemed Brody-like.
That does seem like him. Also, that feels hard to write. Like it's a lot of explanation. Like he taps out of every line.
So we'll go with that was definitely Brody.
So we're assuming that he could not sleep just with the awkwardness of Summer and Zach. That's how messed up he is right now about this whole thing.
Yep.
Poor guy.
Yep. Very apparent. And so he goes into the pitch. It's a fucking disaster. He's changed the whole plot line and turned it into this love story with the ironist. Is that his name?
The ironist, yes, with his
little Miss Vixen, who are Seth and Summer. And my goodness, what a train wreck.
What's interesting is that this is the kind of scene that Adam Brody does best. Like he's at his best, just all that quick dialogue and it's almost like it wasn't even so much what was coming out of his mouth. It was the fact that because Zach and Summer say no, that's not what we've done. That's not what we planned. That is not it at all. And that the executive sees that they're not on the same page. It's like, okay, guys, it's got some promise, but come back to me.
Yeah.
After high
you're
school.
not ready to
I know. I
form
love
a
that too,
partnership.
because we put them in a very adult situation. Like, who gets to go pitch a whole book at 16 years old or whatever?
And I feel like it's also a sign of the times. At that time, Josh being the youngest showrunner in history of the time was a really big deal. And but I remember there was that started this whole wave of, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I know there started this whole wave of Hollywood being pretty obsessed with young creators and young writers and younger and people with experience. Even to this day, writers with experience in their later years not getting as, there's ageism in the writing
there
world.
Totally is. And I think there still is, but I think you're right. It did sort of start that sort of like, okay, like I think, I was always feeling that too. Like, well, I have to do things before 25 because then you're special in Hollywood. Then you're like someone, or you've done something. Like, who cares if you do it at 30? Anyone can do it at 30, which is still very young, right? Like, what do you learn in 10 years?
No, I think it really, we hadn't touched on this. This really did start a lot of young creators. They were getting younger and younger and younger. So it's very plausible that even high schoolers could, it's very plausible that they could be doing this. But he gave them a chance and they presented as high schoolers. So see you later. So, talk to you in a couple of years. Right? Okay.
Right.
Back in the Cohen kitchen, and he's back, and Sandy shares that the coroner said that Max had a stroke, and she is so understanding and patient. And he even says, I'm sorry I called so late and that I stayed out all night. This is the first time we've heard him say something like, I'm sorry about that. And she's very understanding.
And they're going to go out for Valentine's Day.
Yeah. And let's still go out. But you can see also, he says, I still need to do this. I don't like things being so off and awful, which is another detail that's important to see that he's struggling. Yeah. He's really struggling.
He's not just like, oh, okay, whatever. I'm moving on from you.
Yeah. Somebody just passed away.
Yeah.
All right. Can we get back to my boyfriend, please?
Yeah. Now, we're back at Caleb's house, and Ryan shows back up because he wants to
bet Caleb on a game of pool. If he wins, Caleb has to accept him as Lindsay's boyfriend. If not, he'll stay out of his way.
And he says, Caleb says, of course, referencing, he says, what is this, The Color of Money? Referencing the movie with Paul Newman. And you know what? I thought about this, and this is where I really appreciate who Ryan is. He walked away and he thought, he came up with a solution. And this is where his street smarts come into play. Like, he's got to appease or do something that's going to get Caleb to respect him, or like a good old fashioned bet, right?
Right. Yeah. I like it.
We're loving Ryan.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
I mean,
yeah. It's cool. He's cool. Oh, God. Okay. So back to the hotel. I'm just going to do that every time we go back to the hotel.
Back at the hotel. Back at the restaurant. Now we're in this restaurant. And Julie and Marissa are having their dinner. And first of all, I remembered this teal top with like this fox thing. I don't know. I just remember.
Fur. You had a fur collar.
It was fur.
Yeah.
I think it was real too. I don't know. I could be wrong. But for some reason, so this is another example of, I would never dress the way Julie does, but putting on the clothes created a lot of the Julieisms. It's just like gives you that attitude, right?
I'm sure. I would love to put those on sometimes, like for a power meeting or like.
But I do remember something, a very odd detail. The table that they had us sitting at is huge. And I don't know if it looked that way or not, but because when you reach across, a table for two in a restaurant, they're not nearly that big. And I had to like really reach really far over to grab her hand. It was kind of abnormally large. can't talk today.
I wish they would have played the comedic beat of it where like you couldn't reach her hand.
Yeah, right. But now we understand why she's so calculating. And she's totally honest with Marissa and such a blatant gold digger. She's usually been a little bit more understated in her intentions. But oh my gosh, she's like, we need to play our cards right. And we need to protect your inheritance from little Miss Lindsay. That's all she thinks. Oh, and she came rushing back not to check on this. I didn't even realize, not to check on him. She's like, her first thought is, if he dies, I need to make sure shit's in order. I need to be able to have she's like controlling the company. I was like, whoa, this woman is just working on all cylinders. And, and Marissa, understandably, is like so disgusted by her mom.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is very Julie-esque, this whole
I know.
thing.
It's like this.
But you look gorgeous.
Yeah, you look amazing. You're going to take over. But I also remember being in the room and them actually discussing like, what are the rules of inheritance? Like what happens, like what does Julie actually need to do this? Like she has to own part of the company if he's not going to put her in the will or the trust or whatever it is. Like there were details that had to be figured out before they could even like let Julie say
Did they
that.
discuss if you sign a prenup before you marry Caleb?
Oh.
Was that ever a storyline or part of the storyline?
I don't think it was. No? I don't remember.
I wonder.
I would
imagine.
I don't feel like Julie would really go for that. Do you? Do you think Julie would have been like, yeah, okay, I'll sign that? Or she would have had a calculated way to get out of it?
I don't have a recollection of any kind of prenup, but we know that there's some stuff coming up when it pertaining to his will, obviously in the next season that comes up. But no, it's, writers go through, by the time we read it, they've gone through so much.
Oh, yeah.
Like stuff that's not even included.
Right. But it's like all backstory and like informs like 2 lines, right? Like it'll be like 5 hours of talking and researching to give you 2 lines.
Back at the hotel room.
Summer asks Seth about his meltdown. She actually gives him a chance to say something to her, Like he can lay it all out there. But we do see Zach like right there.
Yeah.
So he's clearly
has something he should say to her.
Yeah.
But could he with Zach right there? Or maybe it's so profound that he's just like mortified. But I mean, this is the first time we see Summer actually acknowledging, and it was very clear that, and both Zach and Summer are very aware of what Seth's going through. It's kind of, it was pretty blatant, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Very.
He didn't hide it.
No, he did not hide it. And that's why like Seth and he's like, I'm going to take the bus. And Zach's like, yeah, that's a good idea.
Like, absolutely.
Have fun.
And there's so many things in this episode that are so, I guess people could get really, really angry. And everybody's pretty cool. Like Zach could be pissed off. Or he is pissed off, but he's mildly.
And that is Zach pissed.
Right.
Because Michael Cassidy, like, come on. He's just like this little guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they decide like, hey, we can have a good Valentine's Day. They're going to spend a night in a hotel.
Yeah.
Right. Wonder what's going to happen.
Seth wants to shoot himself, but.
Back in the Cohen bedroom.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Here it comes.
Rebecca calls Sandy and can't wait.
She says she's leaving.
Can't leave it alone. She's like, I'm leaving and I don't want to try and, my dad is gone. I don't need to even try to get my name cleared. And then she says, you don't suppose you could come by and say goodbye? And he's like, no, I can't do that. Well, let me call you back. And Kirsten comes in a beautiful dress. That pink with the sparkles.
Well, yeah, because he tells her, like, get all dressed in your fancy Valentine getup, so she's doing it so they can go to their dinner.
Yeah.
I'm very upset, you guys. This whole thing. So she walks out looking fabulous, get ready for dinner.
Rebecca, she says, yeah, she's leaving and she wants you to say goodbye. Well, I won't stop you if you want to go. And we're waiting. And what does he do? He leaves.
Mother fucker says, I'll be right back.
I'll be right back.
I screamed at the television. My mouth dropped to the floor. I was like, are you kidding me? And so, because I have no memory of these storylines and shooting,
she's seen it for the first time.
That sounds really fun.
I'm seeing it for the
actually,
first time.
I want to do that.
I'm like, yeah, no, seriously. And I'm watching this, and my first reaction is that, like, what the? I was so mad, and then I said, oh no, hold on, this is Sandy. This is the OC. Like, he went to go get flowers, and he's gonna come back in, and he's tricking her. That's where my mind went, because I was like, there's no way in hell he actually just said that. I'll be right back, and chooses to go see Rebecca. I could not believe it. Couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I'm still upset.
So remember last episode when you were like, I love this storyline.
Fucking hate it. Like,
oh, you loved Rebecca before?
Well, no, she was here for it. She's like, I'm here for this. Like, it's really interesting. She said, I'm really interested in the adult storylines now. Watching it,
and
like,
now you're like,
as an adult. And,
watching it as an adult, I'm really into the adult storylines. And I could not relate more to Kirsten just like rooting for her husband to do the right thing and expecting it, you know, because it's Sandy.
Right.
And when he says, I'll be right back, you guys, the anger inside me is still, I could not believe it.
This is
I'm mad.
The highest level of anger I've seen from Rachel.
No, it's just so like, dude, you do the right thing.
I think you speak for quite a few people and during this when this came out. Right.
Could not believe it. All right.
So then, followed by Bang Gang plays, and a sad Seth sits alone on a Greyhound bus.
He looks like he's on like a League of Their Own bus or something.
First of all, like
what
bus
is that?
So old and dirty, and like also, why didn't he take the train? Like, there's a nice train from San Diego to Newport.
Rider.
Yeah, like
the Surfrider train.
Like he's an OC
it's very
kid,
strange.
The train is the way. The bus is not.
Like, but
I don't know.
I love it.
He was punishing himself.
Yeah.
And that probably was, Transpo, they get these vehicles and they rent them from.
Yeah, they're like, find the dirtiest, grossest looking.
Yep.
We'll put him on that.
And you know what? It really told the story.
But then he can't help himself. He feels the need to call and hope she answers to say what? Oh, now that maybe he feels like he can say something to her that he couldn't because Zach was there. But she's still with Zach. I don't.
Right.
But
they're in the hotel.
Yeah. But is it a test? Like, you know how did you ever call someone like as a test? Like, I know they're out at work or they're doing this, like as a test to see if they would drop that other thing to talk to me or come see me. And I can see like,
good point.
Right. No, he still needs to know. He's still feeling
he like needs something, right?
He's still feeling
like a sign.
But the universe.
I love Summer's outgoing message. If I could have that on my phone,
you could do that.
I would use it.
You could get the subtitles and write it down and record it.
Oh, right. It's me. I could just say it again because that would be the same. Oh, geez. That's so true. Oh, man.
You could recreate that.
Yeah.
I am a bright one. I don't know if you've noticed, but pretty bright over here. I might have to do that. But yeah, and so Zach at the end of the scene says that he has something to tell Summer.
Well, first of all, you guys are talking, and Summer is actually she's there. She's present. She's, she may have had an electric nose hump graze with Seth, but she's feeling kind of peaceful and enjoying being with Zach, I feel like. So much so that she suggests that we should take advantage of this bed.
I guess they haven't had sex yet, right? Obviously.
No. And he
says...
yeah,
they're in a hotel by themselves. Absolutely, that's what they should be doing. Anytime I go to a hotel, I always want to have sex. It's just like something about being in a hotel. Doesn't matter who you're with. You just... No, I'm just kidding. But like when you go, I find that personally, it makes you want to. It's fun. It's exciting. Yeah. Anyway.
But he says, when she suggests that, he says, but I have, before we do, I have to tell you something first.
Yeah, you're like, what could he possibly say? But I guess the assumption is that he's a virgin.
Right.
Yeah.
Me too. Right? That's the assumption. And honestly, I'm not remembering, and normally I try and go forward because I need instant gratification, but I'm waiting. I'm waiting till we get to the next one.
Let's go back to who I wish I was in a hotel with, Ryan. is in Caleb's study.
They're in and they said best of 7, which pool can take a long time.
I know.
That's a lot.
So they were there like all day,
that was
all night.
He's only a few hours, maybe. Caleb thinks that Lindsay's going to side with him, which is so, he's still such an egomaniac. Talk about that. But then Ryan wins. And
yes, he does.
Yeah. So
good for Ryan.
I guess he wins, and then he's supposed to be okay with them being together. And she suggests going down to Balboa.
Yeah,
what does she do?
Have a date for Valentine's Day.
Yeah, let's have a date. But then
she was
Ben do?
Right by that door too when they finished
Right,
playing
she's
pool
just like,
in that big house. Right there,
5 hours.
What does Ryan do? He says, "You know what? I think you two should spend some time together." He wasn't petty. He didn't rub it in.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "I won." There is some. As weird as it is, there is something about honoring a bet between men. Even though Caleb says, "Well, in the real world, this isn't how things are done." It's like, yeah, actually, it is. When it comes to men like you,
right? Exactly.
Ryan is right.
Yeah, and he gave her money, and then Ryan, so sweet.
But now I'm wondering,
we love Ryan.
How long is that going to last with Caleb again? I can't remember. See, as we get further in, for some reason, I will remember less.
So you're becoming me, and I'm remembering more.
When
We're
I was
switching places,
reading the outline, this scene was actually not supposed to be this. It was actually, and this is so un-Caleb-like, so I know why it got cut. But it was Caleb goes, okay, then there was no pool thing. It was just they were going to do Valentine's, the 3 of them. And Caleb was going to order food, and they were going to joke around. And it's like, this is weird. No wonder it got cut.
Wait, so Ryan coming and saying, why don't we let's do a pool bet?
I don't think that was in the original outline. I think it was more like somehow, I don't know how they made up, but they made up, and then they were going to have a 3-way Valentine's, like the 3 of them.
He was just going to do what Kirsten asked him to.
Yeah,
it wasn't going to be as easy.
Yeah,
it wasn't going to
be like a thing. This is way better. This is far better.
Way better.
Right.
Yeah.
It makes it more interesting.
Yeah.
As frustrating as, and it remains the Caleb. Maybe because Caleb had turned over the leaf out of the hospital that he was going to be all nicey. And the writers are like, that's boring.
Yeah,
let's get him right back to being
fun and kind of fun to see Caleb be funny, but no. We don't really want to see that.
Yeah. So back in the Cohen kitchen, though, Kirsten's calling the Arches, canceling the reservation.
Mm-hmm.
And
then we're with Sandy and Rebecca at the hotel.
And he says, I've already missed the reservation. Right.
Yep.
And she goes, well, then stay. Why don't you stay? Crossing boundaries, Rebecca, this really is a goodbye kiss, but it feels really intimate. And, but this is when, is it really wrong? Technically, yes. Is it technically cheating? I don't know. But I do know that
that's a weird,
And do topic. You tell your wife? No, you don't tell her. I don't know.
There wasn't even tongue.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't an affair, but he's emotionally struggling. And
emotional affairs are way worse than just a physical one, in my opinion.
And I think, you know what, this now that you just said that, this now makes me understand Kirsten's point of view, because she really is worried because she knows how much Sandy loved Rebecca. And it was a deep, real love of your life. It was enough to threaten her. And so they needed to show that.
They needed to.
Yeah.
And obviously this is setting up the rest of the season. So it's like chinks in the armor, right? To their relationship, kind of just slowly, where it doesn't hit you all at once. Like, oh God, why did he do that? But you're like, ugh.
Well, and I think, and I know that there was some fan reaction of he would never do that. And this would never happen. And it's like, never say never. Nobody ever knows what life will present. Ever.
I'm telling you, watching it older, you're like, no, well, I understand, the confliction and everything else. This was a great love and blah, blah, blah. But, and they do kiss and then he says, you should stay. And that's where I'm like, wait a minute. Now that's the extra, just a kiss and goodbye. Okay. We're not going to hang him out to dry for this. But when he asks her to stay, that's the invitation for an affair, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I mean, that's kind of ambiguous because but you should stay and get your name clear because I can get you a lawyer. That's the way I took it. But
not me.
It's got that
it's got
duality.
There's an innuendo there.
Right.
It's just leaving the door open, right? It's like, I don't want to close this here. It's like possibilities.
Right. Oh,
you should stay.
Sandy, don't.
In the bait shop, Marissa shows up after dinner with Julie. And Alex says, I didn't know where we were going to see each other. It's Valentine's. And it was really sweet where Marissa, this is the most genuine. I think I've seen Marissa with like, you know what got me through this is knowing that I can see you. And Alex says, do you want to go to the beach? I like to go, the tides are changing and I like to go to the tide when something big is about to happen in my life. And
yeah,
that's really sweet.
I mean, it is nice. Like their relationship is really nice because all of Marissa's other relationships were very like, oh, I had to do this. Like I had to be with Luke because I was the popular girl and Luke was the water polo player and then Ryan was the bad boy. And, you know, I know they fell in love, but like, she's just, really, you know, like she's finally maybe like coming into her own a little bit here with Alex.
And having, which I mean, I believe human beings, we talked about this about how we're attracted to all genders for different reasons. And regardless of a gender, you can fall in love with someone's soul.
Yeah.
You can be attracted to their personality, whatever it is. And I think she's having a genuine love for Alex. Yeah. It's really refreshing,
absolutely.
actually. So Kirsten's in her bedroom, and Sandy slowly does the walk up and they walk towards each other.
Yep.
And we don't know what's going to happen.
Nope. But what does she do? It's exactly what I would have done. She shuts the door in his face.
Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. And you know what? And rightly so. She's like,
I am so with her on this. It's Valentine's Day after everything. And he says, I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Don't get me started again, you guys. Very, very big feelings over here on this.
So Seth is looking at all these couples on Valentine's Day with Ryan on the pier. And he's just questioning if he can ever have easy love. And it's like, no, it's always going to be painful for you, no matter what. And that's what it is. Love is meant to be.
Yeah.
People who need people are the luckiest people in the world. I was listening to Funny Girl yesterday.
I was going to say, you're quoting the song. And then we're with Marissa and Alex on the beach. And what happens, everybody? Big moment.
They share their first kiss. And it's really nice. Now,
it's really nice.
Now, this episode, if you remember any of this, I was going to read, or you can read this, Rachel. This was from an interview with, I know Josh has talked about this and people know about this, but once you read what because they promoted this episode as like the biggest thing in the world. And it was all about this kiss, right? And why don't you read what Josh said about it?
They hyped it massively. And Melinda found some quotes from an interview with Josh about this particular moment in this episode. And Josh said the first time they kissed, it was actually very romantic and surprising and kind of a touching kiss. But they made them cut like 3/4 of it out. So what you got was like this peck, basically, is what Schwartz said. And that is what it looks like. It's a peck. And you're like, okay, they're kissing, And then he said the teasers for the kiss didn't match the scene at all. And then you saw the commercials for it, like, don't miss the last 5 seconds for the hottest kiss ever. And you're like, we're dead, Schwartz added. Not only did we lose all credibility with the way we were selling it, but what we were told to do is not what we were selling. So that was interesting.
Yeah, that feeling of we're really building this up and you're promoting it. Don't miss this. You know how the Fox voice, don't miss this Thursday. And it kind of was like a little,
Yeah, it was like our Bachelor moment where they're like, in the most intense season ever.
Right.
Finale
and
ever.
You're like, what?
No, and it's so funny because they were the ones kind of fighting it, right? Like they were like, oh, should we go this far with this storyline.
And then
they're the ones using it as like the promo.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very.
So,
Yeah,
and
it's
we
like,
don't.
but which
and-
way? Yeah.
Yeah, and we don't. I wasn't there for the shooting. I don't know what the original kiss or what the original edit looked like, but
Right.
I know that they obviously cut it down. Probably the amount of time of the actual kiss. So it was literally
Right.
like 5 seconds compared to 15. They probably cut out 10 seconds, you know. Anyway, so that is that episode, you guys, and the Lonely Hearts Club.
We would love to read an excerpt from one of your novels that you wrote about these crazy characters on the OC, Cory.
Yes.
If you want to introduce it or tell us what we're going to be reading.
I think you're going to read from The Summer of Summer, which was just like one summer and Summer's vacation. And basically she goes to Laguna Beach to this hotel called Seascape, which I based on the montage. And it was basically
my favorite place.
Because the step monster was like, we need to have family vacation, but she's on too many meds to actually go anywhere. So they're driving 10 minutes. And Summer's like, why couldn't we go to like, France or something? And so she's all pissed off and she's kind of like, I got to leave. And Seth finds out that she's leaving in this scene. And he's a little like Seth about it. He's a little neurotic.
Summer looked at the bags, then back at Seth. Right. She stepped in front of him and put out her arms, trying to hide the suitcases. Actually, she began, then decided to really mess with him. I was trying to leave before you noticed. Maybe I'd leave you a note. Try and call you once or twice, but that's about it. Funny, Seth started. So you packed all your bags just to make a witty comment. I'm impressed. Farther than I'd ever take it, but good. Summer smiled mischievously at him, but Seth missed it. He was too wrapped up in himself. He sat on the bed and picked up Princess Sparkles. Are you going on this imaginary trip too? He asked the horse. Maybe Captain Oates can join you? Summer reached out for Princess Sparkles and put her in the suitcase on top of her swimsuits. Actually, she is. And Captain Oates can maybe come. That's up to Princess Sparkles. She may want to meet some new horses on this vacation.
Really? And where are you two going? Seascape? In Laguna? That's like 10 miles away. What were you going to do? Leave me a note, then spy on me every night? No, it's the meds, Summer tried to explain. You're on them too? No, ass. I'm not on meds. The step monster has a new outlook on life. She wants us to go on a family vacation and bond. It's going to be hell. Want to come visit? Is your dad going? Family vacation sort of implies yes. Then no thanks. The two of us don't really... Right. The vim and the vigor. And what was it? Iceman? Summer laughed, recalling the one time Seth had met her father. It was brunch at the yacht club and Seth had turned into a bumbling idiot. Summer had been completely embarrassed and they'd almost broken up. But they hadn't, and she thought things would be fine. Then just a few weeks later, Seth had left her with a stupid note. How had she ended up back with him anyways? Because he was Cohen, and he had some way of charming her.
But Seth didn't move. She could see the wheels turning in his head. What now, Cohen? How about I help you? Fine, Summer said, as she reached into her underwear drawer and started pulling out handfuls of bras and panties. Put these in there, she finished as she threw them at Seth. Seth held out his hands and caught a pile of undergarments. But as he put them in the suitcase, he started inspecting each piece. I thought you were going to Laguna, not Fritz's. Fritz's? The finest strip club in Anaheim, Seth answered as if he knew. Summer glanced at him as she pulled her bra out of his hand and placed it in the suitcase. Luke told me about it, he admitted. Summer glared again. It was a long summer. Yeah, I remember. Now, are you going to help me or not? If you promise to put this away, Seth said as he held up a lacy bra, and replace it with something more like this, he fished as he picked up a sports bra with full coverage. Fine, she said as she grabbed both the bras and put them in her bag. I said, replace, not put them in there. Who are you going to wear those for anyway? No one, Cohen. I'm going to Seascape. It's old, crusty, and full of rich men, Seth finished, a tinge of nervousness in his voice.
Summer thought for a moment. Seth had a point. You're right. I'm not making any promises, she said, trying to get a rise out of him. They had a habit of doing that to each other, pushing each other's buttons, seeing how far they could go. Seth looked down at the suitcases, his mind racing. Summer continued to pack, ignoring him. I'm taking her as collateral, Seth said as he picked up Princess Sparkles from the suitcase. She can stay with Captain Oates for the week. You return in one piece, so does Princess Sparkles. Summer stopped what she was doing and shook her head in dismay. What do you think I'm going to do? It's Laguna, Seth, not a third world country. I'm just taking precautions, Summer. Fine, Summer said as she reached for Seth's hand and ushered him to the door. Take her with you, but I've got to finish this. I'll see you later. And as Summer shut the door on Seth, she thought about how crazy he was and how she kept coming back to him.
On scene.
Oh my God.
That's so cute.
Fun.
Yeah, it makes me want to like do scenes with Seth and Summer.
I mean, I liked hearing you guys read that. It's so cute. I mean, I wrote that 17 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
So it's so fun to like hear that.
Which one was your
fun.
very first one?
Was The Outsider, which like kind of used the scripts from the other one.
Oh, really?
So that was the third one I wrote.
Oh my gosh. So this was, do you remember, so your demographic was young adult, obviously.
Yeah. But like probably like middle school, like just before high school.
Okay.
Right? So like some of it's cheesy, right? Like some like
Talking about panties.
Yeah, like
ooh.
But and it's scholastic, so they're like a younger audience than mostly. But yeah, it was like a fun thing to
And in books you can do a lot more detail and do and fill in the blanks and you don't have to get it done in 42 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like, working on the show, like you kind of become very, like I'm sure you guys kind of became close to your characters, right? Like you kind of inhabit some of that and like knowing all these people, they like become your friends, even though they're like imaginary, really.
Right.
So
yeah,
it's fun.
For sure.
Well, thank you so much, Cory, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, and good luck with all of your, you essentially are a lifestyle brand, right?
Yes. Yeah, like a Julie Cooper lifestyle brand of.
Yes. Yeah, it's been so nice having you and hearing your whole experience. And congratulations on your books. And I look forward to reading them.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for listening. Please follow, rate, and review Welcome to the OC Bitches wherever you listen to your podcast. And if you want to look at us, like see our pretty faces, check us out on YouTube or on HBO Max. Bye, bitches. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to start with the pilot episode and catch all of our episode recaps.